shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Listeners for Radio Cayman out there in Radioland, it is a pleasure to be here. My name is Patrick Schmidt. I'm sitting in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, who may well join us later on, but for the time being, you're stuck with me. We're going to have an exciting program of discussions leading up until 2:30 this afternoon, and we're starting off shortly with 100 Men Cayman, and we have our guests in studio who are going to be telling us all about the excellent programs that they have, and so if you would stay tuned to Radio Cayman, we'll be back with you shortly.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon once again, and welcome back to Talk Today. It is my pleasure to be here on behalf of Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. My name is Patrick Schmidt, and I would like to welcome to Talk Today our guests, our first guest, I should say. Firstly, I have Mike Joseph on behalf of 100 Men Cayman, and also accompanying him is Miss Alyssa Christian from the Multiple Sclerosis Society. Or is it Foundation? Pardon me.
Foundation.
Pardon me. Okay. So, without further ado, what I'd like to do, Mike, Alyssa, is hand over to you for you to tell us a bit about your programs.
Thank you very much for having us. First of all, congratulations, Patrick, on surviving being put in the hot seat at such short notice. And we're very, very grateful for the opportunity to be on your radio station. Because what 100 Men Cayman is all about is spending 100% of any money that we generate on a local charity, which means we don't have money to spare for any radio spots or newspaper articles or anything like that. This is 100% free donations and participants and sponsors, just like Radio Cayman.
Truly charitable.
Yeah, that's part of our beautiful island, right? We're a small community. So 100 Men Cayman is it's about 5 years old now. We are a group of guys that basically felt that there was a window of opportunity to have a slightly different fundraising structure amongst all the others, whereby we will meet once a quarter. We'll turn up with $100 CI each, and we will listen to 3 different charities do a 5-minute pitch, and all of the membership that's in the room at the time will vote on the recipient charity. And if 100 guys turn up, then $10,000 goes to that one recipient charity. Literally every single penny goes to them.
Excellent.
And we just do this on once a quarter.
Right.
So in a matter of 1 hour, we're able to give an injection of cash and have an immediate, instant impact on a charity that otherwise wouldn't have been able to get those funds. So listen, there's a space in any community for the breast cancer galas, and it's great. It's $250, $300 a ticket, and the money goes to the charity. Ladies love dressing up so do men dressing up. Equality, Equal Rights Month,
absolutely.
Right? Thanks for playing along, listeners. Cute smile. So the idea is, but there's also room for people that will walk the dogs at the Humane Society on the weekend.
Yes.
And what we do is that we're about using time very efficiently. It's 1 hour, once a quarter, $100. You're done.
Yes.
And you feel good because you've actually participated in any multitude of charities. And
Right.
we've generated over $250,000 CI,
That's impressive.
all of which has stayed 100% in Cayman.
And how do you go about, Mike, selecting those charities?
They have to be registered for a minimum of 1 year. They have to have the proceeds of their efforts have to go towards anything and everything Cayman and Caymanian. No money to go off island. And it's strictly for our local community. And it's a matter of just any of these charities can go to 100men.ky
Right.
and they can register that way.
And how can someone become involved in 100 Men Cayman?
Just shoot us a message. Again, go to the website. It's super simple. In fact, turn up on Thursday night this week at the lodge.
Right.
So is that tomorrow? That's tomorrow already.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the lodge at the Strand. Those guys have been fantastic in donating the venue, and CDG, the Cayman distributor group, of giving away free cocktails, and Rubus are giving away free gas vouchers, and Elite Marble and Granite are the power sponsors this time.
Right.
So, like I said, there are 3 charities that will do a pitch for 5 minutes each. The recipient charity will get the proceeds of everything that's been collected at the door.
Right.
The non-recipient charities will get $1,000 each from courtesy of Elite Marble and Granite,
Right.
which means, listen, first of all, they get 5 minutes exposure and awareness time to the membership,
Right.
but they also get a cheeky $1,000 for
Right.
turning up, which is fantastic.
And of course, they made a very important effort, so it's worthwhile being able to give them something as well. And are they able to reapply subsequent to?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is that after a year of hi Miriam, we can see you, but nobody else can.
Oh, YouTube can see us.
So Miriam Foster is also
Yes,
here.
hi,
She's
how are you?
representing the
Yes,
NCVO.
Thank you for
and
having me.
another past recipient.
Mhm.
But back to your question, Patrick. The idea is that we want all of our registered Caymanian charities to have equal opportunity to be presented. So if you are a recipient charity, you're kind of taken off that rota for 2 years. If you're a non-recipient charity, you're off the rota for 1 year, which just makes, and believe it or not, that may sound like a really long time, but it's fair for everyone,
Yes.
and it'll come by quickly.
And as we all know, the way our society is structured, I mean, we're very fortunate to have so many charities for so many good causes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as a result of that, you need to be very careful and very selective with how you go about distributing the scarce resources, shall we say.
There you go.
And can I just ask you one more question, which is, it's called 100 Men Cayman, but I believe you have more than 100 men, is that correct?
We do.
Yes.
It's 100 men that care a lot, Cayman.
Right.
And we probably have about 400 odds that are registered on the site at the moment.
Excellent.
But of course, it always comes down to the number of people that turn up in the evening, and or the buddy system. So if you can't turn up, you can still give $100 to your buddy to put it into the pot for you on the evening.
Right.
But listen, the first few events, quarterly events, we probably had anywhere from 195 to 250 guys,
Right.
which is as much as 25,000 CI dollars was generated. Our first recipient was Meals on Wheels.
Excellent.
And Miss Beulah McField was the lady of the evening, and she cried. And it's just so wonderful that as guys we can actually make a difference.
Yes, yes.
Because the act of charity and giving is naturally and organically a female thing, and by that I mean that they're naturally mothering and caring, and men generally aren't.
We're generally heartless.
Well, more or less. I mean, you don't want to be black and white about it, but because you have kind-hearted guys as well, Patrick.
Of course, yes.
But in being able to support any and all of these charities in some ways, what we really are very excited about.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for that. I know from your website, which I had an opportunity to look at very briefly, but to date, the organization has contributed significantly in excess of $250,000 to various charities, which is incredible.
Each of those events was 1 hour, so that's over 5 years, 4 quarterly events.
Right.
And we've generated all that. Yeah.
It's very impressive. And
Quick and
thank you
easy.
so much to you and your members for what you do.
It's a team effort. It's a community effort.
I'd also
Takes a village.
Indeed. I'd also like to take the opportunity to just welcome Miriam Foster on behalf of the NCVO. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you here. So, if I may, Alyssa, could I ask you to tell us a little bit about your experience and that of the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation in working with 100 Men Cayman?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Like Mike said, it's, they make it really easy for you. You go in, it's great because you get to meet with the other 2 nominees. So you get some one-on-one time with other charities and people who are doing amazing work in Cayman. And then you've got your 5 minutes to tell your story and make an impact and communicate to this group of men. You've got this captive audience, which is amazing. And 5 minutes goes pretty quickly.
It certainly does.
But it's really wonderful. And I think the money aspect obviously is huge for a nonprofit and a charity, but the relationships that came out of that 1 hour, that last years and lifetime after, that is just, it's so impactful.
Right.
That what you can say in 5 minutes, whether you receive the pool of money or not, just the connections and the relationships and the impact that you have in that amount of time is just huge. And I think it's so wonderful. Like we said, there's so many charities in Cayman.
Yes.
And everybody deserves, and it's hard to choose. And I think that gives everybody a little exposure to tell their story. Again, whether you take the money home or not, there's more to it.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because from that, the time that I went, from then on, so many times I have men come up to me and they're like, "Oh, Miriam, right? I'm from 100 Men." And I'm like, "Oh," he's like, "I met you that night." And I'm like, "Oh gosh." Yeah, but
memory test.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them, obviously, almost 100 or more that were there that evening. But it is true. Definitely from that night, I've had so many other connections, but and it is a hard thing. I remember when I went on, it was Alzheimer's and the Humane Society, so I knew it was a really hard one. You had like children and elderly and the animals, so I can't imagine that it's an easy decision to make every time, but it is nice to get chosen, and what you get from that, the ripple effect of it, is definitely important. So thank you guys for that.
Thank you. Listen, we are merely a vehicle to try and generate awareness and contacts, but also to try and bring well, obviously the funds, but you guys are the ones that are driving the charities, and you are the ones that deserve all the attention and praise and gratitude on behalf of the community. It's wonderful what you do.
And if I could just take the opportunity to contextualize what I believe to be the case in terms of the amounts of money, and then perhaps you could, when we come back from the break, elaborate a little bit on how you put that money to use. But my understanding is that, for example, with respect to NCVO, it was sort of dedicated towards child services. Is that correct?
For the foster home for the boys. I mean, currently we have boys, yeah.
Okay, excellent. It was just over 7,000 CI dollars. And then for the MS Foundation, it was approximately $10,000. And I would definitely need for you to elaborate on that one when we come back.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know a whole lot. Forgive me.
No problem.
But with that said, I think we need to go to a break right about now. And also, I'm sure you're willing to take some calls if anyone has any questions. And with respect to making calling us, as you know, the number is 949-8037, or toll-free courtesy of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. And you can send us a WhatsApp on 925-3261. Thank you very much, and we'll be right back.
Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Radio Cayman News.
It's just gotten really big. There's black smoke covering the roads. You can see it from all over Georgetown.
I'm working with RCIPS to assist with evacuation.
School will resume once the fire has abated and the smoke is no longer a hazard.
I would like to commend all of the emergency services who have been involved in battling the landfill fire.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
At Canine Resort and Spa, your dog gets the red carpet treatment. That's why people trust us and pets love us. Offering doggy daycare, boarding, training, and grooming services for any breed, size, or style. From head to tail, we'll make your dog smile.
Choose from 4 grooming packages, from the basic bronze package of a hydrobath, shampoo and conditioner, wash and blowout, to the platinum package including spa services like a doggy massage and berry facial. Canine will help your pet look picture perfect. Receive a loyalty card where your 6th grooming package is free. Limited availability.
Visit canineresort.com for details on grooming packages, doggy daycare, and resort services. Canine Resort and Spa, where the posh dogs go.
Get ready for Retrospective, Cayman's National Dance Company's annual show at the Harkwell Theatre, March 27 and 29. Retrospective, a versatile journey of the company's signature dances and new creation. Tickets are $25 for adults and $15 for children, and available at Audiophile, Bang & Olufsen, Radiance Dance Studio, or simply call 926-1826. Retrospective by Cayman National Dance Company is sponsored by CUC, Burger King, ARC, Directors, Big Fish, 95.5 FM, Radio Cayman, and Hurley's Media.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. Again, my name is Patrick Schmidt. I'm sitting in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, who may well be joining us. But for the moment, you're stuck with me. So welcome once again to everybody out there in Radio Land. I hope that you are paying attention to this very important discussion that we're having regarding charitable organizations generally, but most particularly 100 Men Cayman and the efforts that they have made over the last 5 years to assist charities in the Cayman Islands to progress with their particular efforts. And I'd also like to mention the fact that we are not just 100 Men Cayman, but we also have 100 Women Who Care, as I understand. And is there any connection, Mike, between the two organizations?
No. 100 Men Cayman started, I think, about 6 months or maybe a year before the 100 Women That Care.
Right.
But it's the same concept. It's the same template.
Kind of a mirror organization.
It's a mirror organization, and it's not a competition because we're all ultimately dealing with the same issues in Cayman, and it's just another avenue
to receive funds.
Yeah, to generate funds.
Right.
NCO was selected with them as well. They both selected projects to the 100 Women Who Care. Have provided a fund so that the children can go on a trip and so to be able to travel, and then the 100 Men Who Give a Hoot,
a big hoot,
yes. They they provided for we're trying to outfit a recreational area for the foster home, because obviously children need outdoor safe recreational space, and as the boys get older, they definitely show the need for physical activity and just having a proper space. So we're trying to outfit that. So that money has been contributed to that to be able to make those changes.
And I would imagine that the NCVO has so many different areas of
need
focus.
Oh, focus, yeah.
Yes, that you and need exactly. That you probably need as much support as you can get from the community, in addition to whatever supplements you might receive.
Yeah, definitely. It takes $1.6 million to run the NCVO.
Wow.
And the thing with us is that we are not a supplemental charity. That means that, similar to Meals on Wheels, if Meals on Wheels doesn't have the money, seniors don't eat.
Right.
That's the what. So with us, if we don't have the money, then children under 5 that are low income special needs don't have education. We are the cheapest by far, so that means we subsidize everything else. And then the foster home is actually a home for boys and girls. So if we don't have the money for that, then we have to figure out where these boys and girls live.
Of course.
So the need for us to be able to have an annual budget, and that would just mean, at least 1 year's, it would make me sleep better at night if we could have 1 year's amount of funding, because then that actually allows you to make a budget. And so 1.6 is really, with the renovations that we have to do. On the plus side, in terms of renovations, we own the land,
Right.
so whatever we do is an investment, so
Sure.
at least if we better it, it's ours in the long run. So we want to make the best use of it.
No, one of the things, sorry to interrupt you,
No, it's
but,
okay.
Obviously NCVO has been around for a long time.
1974.
Right. I think it was Mrs. Olive Miller.
Ms. Olive Miller,
who
yes.
has set it up originally.
Yes.
That was before my time, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Rubbish,
I had fingers crossed. And so it the actual abbreviations National Council of Voluntary Organizations, but does that actually ring through to the functionality of it insofar as you coordinate to some extent?
Yeah, so no. So we're changing our name. So you're here to hear first. We are going to be the National Children Volunteer Organization, because all of our focus is really on children. The only thing that wouldn't be specific to children, but it still provides a service to children and families, is our bargain shop.
Right.
So, the bargain shop allows you to outfit your entire family for $5, so it's still a service to them. But yeah, so we're focusing on children's services. Yes, we've been around since 1974, and looking at us historically, we've done everything from sponsor people going to boxing overseas to planning the Jubilee Parade. We've been everywhere and everything. But I believe that it's important, in order to deliver quality work, to focus yourself. And the children is the area that we're going to be specifically focusing on, low-income, special needs children.
Excellent.
So our Early Childhood Center, that's we're working with the Special Needs Foundation to coach all of our teachers and upskill them to provide. We're going to be the only preschool that's going to be an inclusive preschool, and still the cheapest. And we also have the lowest, the best teacher to student ratio. There's no class that's bigger than 12 students. So we're really trying to make a difference, because in order to really assist children at this age, which you can actually make a difference with their brain, you need to have people that are skilled, and you need to have smaller classrooms. And then also with the foster home boys, we want to, when they leave us, to feel like they're capable of doing anything and everything, and that they have support, and they can achieve those things. Yes. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So.
Thanks very much, Miriam. Alyssa, can I turn to you for you to tell us a bit about the MS Foundation, and actually you can take that whatever direction you wish, whether it's okay.
So MS stands for multiple sclerosis, which, for those who don't know, is an immune-mediated disease. So that means your immune system is attacking your central nervous system. So it's deteriorating the protective coating around nerves, which means bizarre things are happening that shouldn't happen, right? Pain, numbness, tingling, balance issues, mobility issues, vision, the list goes on and on. So we were established in 2016, so it's 4 years. And MS, there's no cure. And it's a lifelong disease. And it's very expensive. So from medication alone to neurologist visits to physical therapy, MRIs, everything in between. And a lot of things are not covered or covered very limited by insurance.
Right.
And so our mission is to provide financial and emotional care to not only MS patients, but their families, because it's not something that somebody walks alone. It's a journey for everybody.
Yes.
And you need support. You need a team behind you. And then the second piece is also to bring awareness and education to the community, because MS is still quite new.
Right.
People don't want to talk about it, and we are here to say this is what it is, and we all need to be educated, and we all need to be accepting. And it is an invisible disease, right? You can't always look at somebody and say they have MS. So it's bringing light to something and letting people understand the severity of it, something that they can't necessarily see.
Right.
And so, our funds from 100 Men were used for patient care. That's, we've had a few patients who are in, critical and dire need of emergency funds, and they're really far in their progression of MS. And, it was a quick phone call, and we were able to provide. And I've always said if it's just one person that we can take that stress away from, that's all that matters.
So where's home base for you? In terms of, are you actually situate? Do you have offices in a particular location, or?
Well, yeah, we just actually signed our first lease, so it was out of my house for the past 3 years. So we just signed our first lease, and we'll be doing a big grand opening, a ribbon cutting soon. But we are next to Dr. Abraham in Industrial Park, and Alexander Place.
And if someone wants to reach out to you either to help or because they need help, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can go to our Facebook page. They can shoot us an email, info@msfkman.com.
Okay.
And then everything's on the Facebook page. Our phone number, our email, everything's there.
Okay. Presumably when you went to see 100 Men Cayman, you were just at the beginning of your development, is that correct? Or
yeah, it was a couple years ago.
You had to have been registered for the first year before we were allowed to put you into the mix.
I think we had just made our year, because we had approached you guys before, and so we were waiting. So yeah.
And is the organization a part of the HSA overall umbrella, or nothing to do with it whatsoever?
No.
Okay.
We do partner heavily with Health City.
Right.
Health City has the only on-island neurologist.
Right.
And so they've been there from the very beginning. Before that, there was no neurologist. So no patient had care locally, and travel's excruciating for somebody with MS, and time-consuming and worrisome, and the whole 9 yards. So we've been very grateful. HSA has always supported us, and we're very grateful for them as well.
And am I correct in thinking that it is a genetic thing that...
You are not.
I am not,
no,
so please.
It's not. No, MS is not genetic. Nobody knows. Right. Nobody knows why you get MS.
Right.
So the theory kind of is that you're kind of predisposed to it, and then something environmentally triggers that the disease to start acting out, and then symptoms arise. And most of the time, someone has MS for a while and they don't know, because it's, it can be categorized as common symptoms, migraine, stuff like that.
Right.
It's not until the real funky stuff starts happening.
Right. And obviously, as you mentioned, it's very debilitating in every respect. So the support mechanism is fundamentally important.
Yeah, and it's unknown. Like, there's no... you don't know you're going to have a bad day. You don't know you're going to wake up and you can't walk, or literally second to second. Yes. Somebody can feel totally fine, and then 5 minutes later, not.
Right. Thank you so much for that description. I think we have to go to another commercial break now. So for everyone out there in Radioland, we'll be right back. If you have any questions, just a reminder, give us a call on 949-8037. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up?
I'm good, just been hanging out with some friends.
Oh, for real? word is that you've been partying and drinking.
I've only been out a few times, and plus, I know how to handle my liquor. And alcohol isn't as harmful as any other drug, so whatever.
Bruh, first of all, your brain is still developing. Plus, too much alcohol can lead to liver damage or alcohol poisoning. Your organs are probably screaming right about now.
So how comes when my friends, my mom and my daughter drink, nothing ever happens to them?
Seriously? 1, you're under 18, which makes it illegal. 2, your brain doesn't stop growing until about age 25, and drinking can affect how it develops. Just because you see someone drinking and they may look fine, their body isn't. Alcohol can cause heart attacks, brain damage, memory loss, cancer, early diabetes, increased blood pressure, depression, alcohol
Wait. Are you serious?
Bro, I'm telling you.
No. I get it. These are some facts I didn't know. I'm glad you shared them.
Shatter the myths today. For more information on teens and drinking, visit ndc.ky.
This message is brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman.
Members of the public are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss the coronavirus preparation. Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town, hosted by the Minister of Health, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Honorable Premier Alden McLaughlin, with Ministry of Health and Public Health officials, as well as other key stakeholders. The meetings will also be broadcast live on Radio Cayman. Again, members of the public, you are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss COVID-19 preparations in the Cayman Islands. Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, everybody out there in Radio Land, and welcome back to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmidt. I'm sitting in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and we're here with Mr. Mike Joseph on behalf of 100 Men Cayman, as well as two of the charity recipients from previous charity recipients. Firstly, Alyssa Christian is representing the MS Foundation, and we have Miriam Foster from the NCVO, soon to be changed to a new
It'll
name.
still be NCVO.
Okay. For most people,
I'm not
sure,
confusing
yeah.
the public that way.
Okay, I thought that was the official announcement. We got it first.
What the NCVO stands for, but the NCVO will remain.
Oh.
Yeah, we keep it simple.
So, again, just a reminder that we are open for calls if anyone has any questions for any of our guests. We're unfortunately not going to be graced with their presence for very much longer. So if you do have a question, please call in as soon as possible. That said, I'd like to hand things back to Mike for him to tell us a little bit more about the membership and the functionality of 100 Men Cayman.
That's an open-ended question.
Of course.
How long have I got? 12 minutes or something, right? Okay, so we are a organization that relies heavily on community participation, as any community or charity foundation would, of course. But the frustration that I and we collectively are experiencing is that there's probably 35,000 males in Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
Chop that down to 20,000 between the ages of 18 and 60.
Right.
When I don't know these statistics, I'm kind of shooting from the hip here. But, you know,
makes sense.
Half of them may be on holiday or unavailable one evening, which leaves 10,000 men.
Yes.
But surely we can get more than 100 guys in a room at the same time.
10,000 times $100 would be $1 million,
That's
wouldn't
$1 million.
it? Yeah.
So imagine NCV or MS Foundation if you got $1 million in one lick, right?
Oh my goodness.
No, but Miriam, that would be...
That would be 1.6. That's
60%
yeah.
of your
Yeah.
So the point is that I think in fairness, there's a calculator right on my phone. Don't worry. I think in fairness that if you participate in your community, then it's okay.
Right.
You don't have to turn up to this.
Right.
Because you should sleep well at night knowing that you're doing something.
Of course.
Something. It doesn't matter what, as long as you're doing something at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, these lovely ladies do so much all of the time, all year long, right? And I'm just one guy that turns up at some event once every quarter, and that's for 1 hour.
Right.
Now, as a part of the founding committee or the team in the background, I do a lot more than just 1 hour once a quarter, but The point is that the guys that turn up, at least they're doing something.
Right.
And kudos to them. But all I'm asking is that guys turn up with a friend. CEOs, managing directors, owners of businesses, make sure that your company have people. One of your company values should be that they are participating in the community.
Right.
So encourage your ladies to go to the 100 Women That Care, or your men to go to the 100 Men Cayman events. And if not those two, that's okay as well. But do something. Little brother, big sister, big brother, big sister, junior achievement. This morning I went to the breakfast at the Ritz-Carlton for the Special Needs Foundation, which is just extraordinary. 500 people turned up, and most people would have donated in some way, shape or form. And, you know, last year they generated some crazy $400,000 in that 1 hour breakfast session. This is the impact that you can have. And special needs is, listen, all of these charities are super important.
Of course.
And that's why my plea to the community is that you do something. Even if it's walking dogs on a Saturday at a Humane Society, you're helping, you're participating in your community.
Absolutely.
Hands down, that's all we have to do. Just do something. You too, Patrick.
Absolutely, and I do.
Good answer.
I mean, the thing is that you're absolutely right. We all have sort of a civic responsibility to do the best that we can to help everyone that may be in need, or more need than we are ourselves. And the more people that participate, the easier it is for everyone else to participate, because there's less of a burden being carried by fewer people. There's no argument that can be made from my end or from anybody else's end, really. I mean, obviously you'll have those cynical persons that will say, oh, well, these people are just taking, an hour off once a quarter to come in, but that it has a significant impact, and not everybody can afford the time, but the fact that they take the interest and give of their income to participate is extremely important. And unlike other countries, it's not as if we're deriving a tax break or anything like that. This is something which is genuinely 100% for charity, which is remarkable. So again, kudos to you guys for that effort. And all the other organizations, as you mentioned, we are very fortunate in this community, I believe, to have so many good charitable organizations with interest.
And I figure people have either got money or they've got time.
Right.
So if you don't have the money, that's understandable. But you've got time. You can do the Earth Day cleanup once a year.
Yes.
You can walk the dogs on, Saturdays or what have you.
Build bus shelters.
Exactly. Just participate. Be a volunteer at something, at some event. Or if you've got the money and you don't have the time, then give your $100 to somebody that they can take along to some charity event, or buy a ticket for somebody that can go in your place. But do something.
And you were saying on the forthcoming meeting tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at the lodge.
Is it 6 or 7, pardon?
Well, it's 6 p.m. is registration.
Right.
And then it starts sharply at 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock. And we're very strict about that 1 hour session. The ladies will attest to the strict 5 minutes. You've only got 5.
Well-oiled machine.
we give you strictly 5 minutes, and we almost play the music.
No, it's a giant clock.
Yeah.
And is there
no
big,
pressure?
Sort of
No pressure at all. You're just watching the time.
We start booing you off stage.
No, seriously, the giant cane that comes out and just drags you out.
No, you're fine. But we're very strict about it. Strictly 1 hour, and it's because of our the corporate citizens that are participating that makes this all possible. Elite Marble and Granite, CDG, Man Cave, Rubis, Peripheral Sunglasses, Watercolors, Property Cayman, amongst others, right? All of these people giving their time to make these things happen.
And is there a membership process per se?
100men.ky.
You just show up.
We welcome any male and their $100.
And they, if a friend of theirs is not able to attend but wants to participate, they can send
simple buddy system,
Excellent.
And they can turn up with $100 and say, hey, this is for Johnny, and this, register him for me, and here it is.
Excellent.
It's a really nice feeling. The best, they're all good when we manage to give some money away, but there's once we actually saved a child's life.
Right.
I mean, hands down, the money that we did was for a critical life-saving heart operation for a child.
Yes.
And, I don't care whether you're a father or not, or whether you're some macho, brave, egotistical man. But there were a lot of tears in the room that night when it was the following quarter, in fact, when they came back and told us where our money went. So we want accountability. Like MS Foundation, they came back and they told us how the money was used. But when you save a child's life, that's pretty awesome.
It's tremendous, yes.
Or positively impacting anybody's life. Feed Our Future, all of them, all of these charities. It's nice to give, because when you give, you actually receive the positivity and positive energy and goodness for everybody.
Absolutely. just by way of reminder, I understand that the organization has raised to date in excess of $255,000. So we hope to
real impact.
I'm sure you hope to add another 10 or so to that, if not more.
I don't see why 200 guys can't turn up. Right. And then we have $20,000 that goes to the next charity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Please just tell friends, come along, join in. And same with the ladies, turn up to the 100 Women That Care. And if neither of these two, that's okay as well. Again, probably sound like a broken record. I'm sorry, guys, but just do something. It's our moral obligation to participate. And if you don't, you don't have the right to moan and complain about some social injustice.
Right? Absolutely.
You don't have the right.
Yes.
Pick up trash. If you don't like trash, pick it up. Yeah. Participate and pick it up.
Absolutely. And especially in a place like Cayman, which has developed so quickly, and things have changed so fast, just in our lifetimes, that there's more and more need as well, and therefore the necessity for all of us to take responsibility is there. Ladies, is there anything else that you would like to add whilst we're?
Just a thank you. Yeah. I don't think anybody should look at this as it's an easy way out. Like it's impactful. Right. What you can do in an hour, 4 times a year. It is. We, the MS Foundation, are so grateful for the opportunity we had, and I think every charity is.
Yes, excellent.
Yes. Also, thank you very much for organizing this and for making it an easy way that we can.
To Mike, by the way.
Yeah. The organization he represents. Who he represents, the whole team of men. And obviously, if there are people out there, if this is not their way of getting involved, you can always volunteer with the NCVO. We have lots of ways to volunteer. We're actively looking for help with our bargain shop. But then we have lots of other ways to get involved. You can go on our website and make a donation as well at ncvo.org.ky. And all of it's going to children. And so we just appreciate the 100 Men for allowing us to talk more about the things that we do and getting more people involved, because obviously we think it's an important cause.
Thank you for all you do.
Excellent. Well, we didn't get any callers, which means that everyone is quite happy to hear about all of this. And I'm certainly hoping that they'll be coming out to your meeting tomorrow night at the Lodge. Could you just remind us where exactly that is?
The Lodge is the Strand Shopping Centre.
Okay.
And it starts at 6 p.m. was registration, and then and listen, there's a lot of fun. A lot of guys turn out. There's cross-cultural and cross ages and socioeconomic levels, and it's we're in this together type of feel.
Right.
And it's a really good feeling. So 6 p.m. at the Lodge tomorrow evening at the Strand.
And just for a bit of historical info, how did this actually arise or come together initially?
From my understanding, about 10, 15 years ago, some ladies got together and they decided to form a group, 10 Women That Care. And then it turned into 100 Women That Care. And the ladies were saying at some dinner party that, men, you couldn't put this together. You don't care. So the challenge was set, and the men followed suit, and of course the natural progression was, that's my understanding, I may be wrong. It's a fun story, let's play with it.
It sounds like a good one too.
Yeah. But the idea is that organically it's grown into something that naturally makes a lot of sense for a lot of people that don't necessarily have much time, but want to help.
Right.
And this is a vehicle which will help you have an impact, a positive impact quickly.
Right. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank all three of you, Mike, Alyssa, Miriam, for being here with us, for informing the general public of this important and very worthy cause and causes. And I hope that Sterling will have you back again sometime soon.
We're very grateful for Radio Cayman giving us a voice.
Yes.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Always to Radio Cayman.
Thank you. And I believe we're going to the news now, Ms. Susan. Thank you so much.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on Island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
Elected representatives and health officials host the first in a series of meetings on the COVID-19 coronavirus on Grand Cayman Tuesday night at Mary Miller Hall. Premier the Honorable Alden McLaughlin opened by saying every country in the world will be affected by the disease, and while government is still focused on stopping the virus from getting here, it's shifting that focus to limiting transmission. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, the coronavirus outbreak has been labeled a pandemic by the World Health Organization. The chief of WHO said the number of cases outside China had increased 13-fold over the past 2 weeks. He said he was deeply concerned by alarming levels of inaction over the virus. A pandemic is a disease that is spreading in multiple countries around the world at the same time. And disgraced film producer Harvey Weinstein has been sentenced to 23 years in prison for rape and sexual assault. He was found guilty in a trial in New York last month, a dramatic fall from grace for one of Hollywood's most powerful figures. The 67-year-old appeared in court today in a wheelchair. His lawyers had appealed for leniencies, saying even the minimum sentence of 5 years could be a life sentence. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
At Canine Resort and Spa, your dog gets the red carpet treatment. That's why people trust us and pets love us. Offering doggy daycare, boarding, training, and grooming services for any breed, size, or style. From head to tail, we'll make your dog smile.
Choose from 4 grooming packages, from the basic bronze package of a HydroBath shampoo and conditioner, wash and blowout, to the platinum package including spa services like a doggy massage and berry facial. Canine will help your pet look picture perfect. Receive a loyalty card where your 6th grooming package is free. Limited availability.
Visit canineresort.com for details on grooming packages, doggy daycare, and resort services. Canine Resort and Spa, where the posh dogs go.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmidt and I'm standing in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. It's my pleasure to be here with all of you out there in Radio Land and our sister islands, of course here in Grand Cayman and in the larger Caymanian diaspora, as Dr. McField likes to say. It is a pleasure to have with us representatives from the Early Childhood Care
Education Unit.
An education unit. Thank you so much for finishing it off for me. I have the person that you just heard, and you may be watching if on YouTube, is Miss Carol Bennett. And Carol is, of course, the Senior Policy Advisor and Manager for the Early Childhood Care and Education Unit. And I also have Miss Renee Barnes, who's the Early Childhood Care and Education Officer.
That's right.
And it's a pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you
very
for
much.
having us. It's a pleasure.
So I understand that even though you've been on talking on this about this very important topic quite a bit, it is a lot of information, and I'm sure that there are a number of people out there in the public who would be very interested to hear even more. And in particular, we're going to be focusing today, I believe, on the criteria as well as the funding.
Right, the funding itself and how to apply.
Right. So,
and we're hoping to reach as many listeners as we can. That's why we're trying to go on as many times and as many radio stations as we can. So For anyone who's heard us already, please forgive us, but please tell a friend about the funding.
Yes,
so somebody else can listen.
Absolutely. And of course, I presume that you're welcome to, or that you would welcome questions from the general public.
Of course.
So just by way of reminder, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I'll just remind the general, the listening public that you can call us on 949-8037. The lines are open. You can also call us toll-free on a courtesy of Flow, 1-800-534-8255, or you can send a WhatsApp, and I will try to get to it as soon as possible. And that number is 925-3261. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to these capable ladies for them to tell us about the early childhood program.
All right. Well, the Early Childhood Assistance Program is a funding that's provided through the Ministry of Education for families who have children that are 3, Caymanian families with a Caymanian child, 3 years of age as of September 1st of this year, 2020. Parents can apply based on the total income of the family and the number of dependents. Then they're means tested to see whether or not they would qualify financially.
Okay. And what is the total amount of assistance that a parent can get for a child?
They can get as much as $450 per month
right.
if they qualify for a supplementary funding.
Okay.
Depending on the total income, of course, and the number of dependents, they might qualify for a basic funding, which is $275 per month.
Right.
Yeah.
And the means testing criteria is right on page 11 of our forms. So, and we can talk about it today whenever you're ready. But if parents have any questions about it or is curious about it, it's all transparent and open. And it is right on the forms when they apply on page 11.
And I believe that this information is also available online.
Yes, the forms are available online on the ministry's website, education.gov.ky.
Okay.
And you click on the education tab and then the early childhood tab, and you'll see both the 2019 form and the 2020.
Right.
We've left the 2019 forms up for children who turned 3 before September 1st, 2019, because the minister has decided that there will be no deadline. So we haven't closed the 2019 funding as yet.
Right.
So we're still getting a few children in who would have benefited for it from September, but their parents might be just finding out about it, or their circumstances may have changed in the last few weeks, so now they've decided to apply for the assistance.
Right.
So we are still taking funding, applications for children who turned 3 September 2019.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not an educational professional, obviously, but I think that it is widely accepted that a program such as this is so important for the development of children, even prior to entering into the full school system, so to speak. So congratulations to the ministry and to the department and to yourselves for getting this going. And of course to the minister herself, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, who may or may not join us, depending on whether she has the time, I suppose. But I just wanted to ask, again, focusing on rather than the pros of it, because I'm sure you've already discussed that, but we can talk about that some more as well if you wish. But could I just ask, in terms of the funding that would be provided when a person qualifies, fills out the application and qualifies for it, or persons qualify, how has it been determined, those numbers for 475 and 250, I believe?
450 and 275.
Okay.
Right. So those numbers have grown with the funding and with society. So before it used to be 308, I think.
Yeah.
And then it moved up to 408 and then 410. And now we're at 450. So, of course, those numbers go by the amounts that the early childhood centers cost as well as the budget that we have.
Right.
So if we make the funding $1,500 per each child per month, we'll only be able to help a few children, of course, right?
Yes.
So the minister is keen on helping as many children as we can help.
Right.
So at this time, the budget is allocated $450 for children who qualify for supplementary and $275 for children who qualify for basic.
Okay. So perhaps one of you might like to describe, or both of you might like to describe the criteria that is applied in ascertaining whether or not someone is eligible.
Okay, so parents complete the application form, and they're supposed to provide particular documents, supporting documents, which would include the child's birth certificate and the child's proof of nationality, being that one of the parents is Caymanian also. Or the child might have a letter of acknowledgement that they would submit. Along with that, we ask for parents to provide pay slips, which is proof of income, and so all of that is looked at and then deemed whether or not they would qualify.
And of course, it's all confidential, so people don't have to worry.
All confidential.
Very confidential.
Yes.
And I was asked last time I was here in the morning show if children who have Caymanian status or parents who have Caymanian status can apply, and that's a definite yes. So when Ms. Renee said birth certificates, if the child does have status or the parent has status prior to the child's birth, they are more than allowed or encouraged to apply. Okay.
And do you have an approximate idea of how many kids, not in terms of eligibility, but in that age group, that is to say, that would reach the requisite age by the 1st of September?
The only thing we have to go on is the ESO statistics and the live birth rates and stuff. But then, of course, that doesn't include the immigration or the children who were perhaps born overseas due to medical reasons and come back and confirmed as Caymanian, or the children who've gotten Caymanian status. So that's what we usually look at is that. We also have statistics from early childhood centers. Every October, Ms. Renee collects those statistics from early childhood centers. So we see how many children from birth to compulsory school age are registered in early childhood centers. So we can see perhaps the year before how many 2-year-olds are registered, to then be able to see how many 3-year-olds will then possibly be applying or eligible by age anyway, because then we ask for statistics by nationality as well, Caymanian, non-Caymanian. So of course they don't provide any financial information, so we can't look at it and tell 20% of them will most likely be applying according to finances, but we have the general numbers through those statistics and from ESO.
Okay, excellent. And how do you go about deciding which of the early childhood centers, so to speak, are
we have our favorite ones. No, I'm just joking. We don't have our favorite ones. Yeah, we don't have our favorite ones, actually. We work with all...
A lot in West Bay, of course.
We were. You must be a West Bayer. Yeah?
Maybe, possibly.
We work with all early childhood centers, and I must say, unless someone calls in to say different, one of the owners, which I hope they don't, we do have a good relationship with all centers. We do not choose which early childhood center we send the money to. Parents choose that, and the funding can be sent to any early childhood center which is registered with Education Council.
Okay.
And so as long as they're registered with Education Council as an early childhood center, and last year or the year before, the minister also signed an understanding that if the provision is registered as an educational institution with council, we will also be able to send funding there. So, for example, some of the more therapeutic based businesses that might have dual registration with health services, with the CPAM as well as education, we can now send funding there, and that's especially important for children who might have special needs, who need a certain setting, but because they're not registered as an early childhood center prior to the minister signing that understanding, we were not able to send funding there. So that has now changed.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's a lot of information, and but extremely important and extremely informative. We have to go to a short break, but as soon as we come back, we'll have more on early childhood education.
All right. Thank you.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching yellows, print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
Members of the public are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss the coronavirus preparation. Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town, hosted by the Minister of Health, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Honorable Premier Alden McLaughlin, with Ministry of Health and Public Health officials, as well as other key stakeholders. The meetings will also be broadcast live on Radio Cayman. Again, members of the public, you are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss COVID-19 preparations in the Cayman Islands. Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town.
The Spring 2020 Labor Force Survey is currently being conducted by the Economics and Statistics Office. The Labor Force Survey collects data on employed and unemployed persons. Trained interviewers with ESO ID cards will visit randomly selected households in all districts. The interviews are confidential in accordance with the statistics law. No individual data will be published or disclosed. Survey data are exempt from freedom of information. For more details, please call the ESO hotline at 516-3329.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmidt and I'm sitting in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. It's a pleasure to be here, and especially a pleasure to be here with the ladies who are representing the Early Childhood Care and Education Unit. Of course, of the Cayman Islands government.
Oh, yes. The Ministry of Education.
Yes, and specifically the ministry. So I have with me Miss Carol Bennett and Miss Renee Barnes, or is it Mrs. Renee Barnes?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So we were just discussing before the break and a little bit after the break, the means testing and how the criteria is applied, and the amount for which various types of family are eligible. So perhaps if I could ask you to elaborate a little bit on that, that would be tremendous.
Go ahead. Oh, well, let me put my glasses on.
Okay.
I need to see what I'm talking about. So we have a chart, which, like I said, is on page 11 of the application form. So those people who are listening to us right now don't have to feel like they have to grasp everything we're saying right now, because it is right on the form as well. But it's just more for information to free people's minds, actually, as to who should be applying for this funding, to let them know that a lot of typical Caymanian families fall in the brackets that we are actually accepting applications from, or qualifying applications from. So,
sorry, just one question before you go into that. I noted that I think it's at the back of the form. It says the application, once completed, must be submitted to the Office of the Premier. Is that correct?
No.
I thought it was a misprint. I thought it was a misprint.
To the Office of the Premier?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
To the education, to the Early Childhood Unit.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Please show us where that is on the form, because that's definitely it.
On the bottom.
Oh, that was not me that gave you that.
Okay.
Not that wrote that. Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Oh, dear.
I think they were talking about the speaking notes. I had to return to the Office of the Premier.
Now I understand.
Yeah, they're the ones that that do the arrangements to come on the show.
Excellent.
Okay, phew, I thought the forms are all wrong. It's like we read this 10 million times. Okay, so to clarify that, the forms, once they're completed and the documentation comes to us at the Early Childhood Unit in the Ministry of Education, second floor of the government building.
Okay.
Our parents can scan them in and email them to ECAP, @gov.ky. We're asking parents, or we're insisting actually, that parents bring them directly to us at the government building or email to that address, because in the past, unfortunately, passing through hands, either through early childhood centers or through education department, a few have been lost, and we've had to ask parents then to complete them again. So we figured, let's cut out the middleman and make sure that everything is in our hands and we can process them appropriately.
Right, and of course that way they don't have to put up with traffic.
Okay, so the means testing criteria So like I said, we have the chart, and we have number of dependents from starting at one dependent, which if a person is applying for this funding for at least one child, they have at least one dependent because they have the one child.
Right.
So anyone who makes less than $2,625 per month, and that's total income, and we take out provision for health and insurance. So whatever shows on their payslip for health and pension, health insurance and pension, we deduct that from their total salary.
Certainly.
So anyone making less than $2,625 would automatically qualify for the $450, as long as the child is Caymanian. Anyone who makes between $2,626 to $3,413 per month, if they have just the one dependent, which would be the child that they're applying for, they would qualify for basic funding, which is $275, and any additional dependents then would put them in the $450 category.
Right.
Persons who make a total of $3,414 to $4,200 per month, if they only have the one dependent, that doesn't qualify them for the funding. If they have two dependents, they'll get the $275 a month, and any dependents above that then would push them into the $450 qualification bracket.
Right.
So the last bracket is $4,201 to $4,998. So $2 shy of $5,000 a month. One dependent would qualify for nothing. And 2 to 3 dependents would be the basic funding of $275, and then 4 or more dependents would be $450 a month.
Okay.
And we dependents are children, anyone over 18 who might still be in tertiary education that the parents are still responsible for.
Right.
It could be an elderly person who is living in the home or who is financially dependent on the parents who are applying. It could be another parent. So if the parents are married and one parent is not working and one parent is, the non-working parent would then be a dependent as well.
Right. So just for clarity, I mean that was fairly clear actually, but just for additional clarity, I suppose the sums that we're talking about, if both parents are working, it applies to their cumulative income.
Yes, to the
Right.
total income.
Okay.
But that's if
Total
parents
income.
are living in the same household.
Okay.
So if we have both parents working, but dad lives in another place and mom, or they're separated, or they were never together, divorced or whatever, we would take the primary caregiver's salary and then add whatever consistent maintenance that primary caregiver gets from the other parent, and therefore it would just be the one salary plus the consistent maintenance. Unfortunately, of course, some parents do not consistently help maintain the child with the other parent. So parents usually declare that. They say mom helps with snacks, or mom will give $100 every now and again, or dad will perhaps pay half the school fees every now and again. And then the oversight committee usually verifies that with the other parent.
Okay.
And they'll call and say, hey, we're going through this application. Can you give us an idea of, your involvement with your child or your financial support for your child? And usually, I would say 98% of the time it's corroborated. Is usually the story.
Right.
And we do have a lot of good, honest people applying. Usually,
Right.
it's not people who are trying to dupe the system.
Right.
Or none that just a few that we found.
A handful.
So in that case, it wouldn't be both parents' salary that would be taken into consideration.
Yeah, and it's important to note too that while we're processing the form, we may have need to call the employer,
Of course.
just to verify information, or
Certainly.
anybody else that we need to get additional information.
But parents sign for that on the form, so they know that ahead of time. It's on the form that they sign,
Right.
stating that I'm giving you permission to contact my employer or
Right.
other people that might help process the form. Sometimes we find parents who might be just perhaps in between the categories where if they had just say $100 less per month, for example, they might bump up into supplementary. So, or they're a little bit over the ceiling rate. But when we dig deeper into those situations, you find out there's some extenuating circumstances that they didn't declare, such as an ill family member who they're paying extra payments for every month, or perhaps they've submitted pay slips. For example, one of the one of the parents might be in a service industry that depends on high season, low season, that kind of stuff.
I was going to ask you about
and
that.
then the pay slips that they've given us are for the highest months, perhaps, because that was the most recent time frame, right? So when we call and we dig and we say, actually, can you submit more pay slips for a longer period of time? And when we average that up, we see the true picture then, and it's much less than what we previously thought it was. So that's the way that we work with parents. That's why we're asking parents not to try and means test themselves. Of course, if they make like $15,000 a year, a month, and there's no extenuating circumstances, that's a different story, right? But if they are in the vicinity and they think, let's just try it. We might be a few dollars over, or we might be a bit over, but they can also call and talk to us and explain their situation if they don't want to fill out the form and get all the documentation, but they're welcome to do that as well.
Yes, of course, the most important thing being that you don't want Kimanian children or any children, but in particular in this instance, it is Kimanian children who qualify. Therefore, we wouldn't want them missing the opportunity.
That's exactly it. That's why we want to discourage parents from guessing on their own. We want them to either fill the form out and let us do the means testing along. And we tend to do the means testing first and get the form. We do, not tend to get the form processed before we present to the oversight committee, so that process can be seamless once we get them together. So when they apply for it and we see these little things that we might have questions about, that we're able to contact parents and talk with them openly and get the true picture of what's going on in their home with their income, and actually present the proper picture to the oversight committee.
So if your child is going to be 3 by the 1st of September of this year, you need to get your application in sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Please so that all those little things can be ironed out, and you can make sure you have the correct information.
Because processing these forms are a lot more than just checking the boxes to say yep. It's quite detailed. We have Ms. Renee, who most of her summers are deep down into the forms, and then I end up being roped in as well, because it's just it's much deeper. There's converting salaries, because some people get paid in US and we convert it to CI, making sure which one of these pension contributions is, health insurance sometimes. Companies pay the full health insurance contribution, so it's picking all those little things apart.
And those that get paid hourly, it's a little bit different kind of a math than just a set salary end of the month. So
we also don't take, speaking of the hourly employees, we also don't count gratuities. So a lot of the paychecks will have gratuities in it, but of course they're not guaranteed, right? They're very variable. So we deduct those as well. But we also work with immigration and work and NAU and DCFS. So like you said, people who need to get their forms in, the sooner the better, because every year there's a new situation that we have to look into and work with someone different to sort things out to make sure the application can go to the oversight committee. So sometimes processing forms can take a whole month, sometimes quite a while. So people are encouraged to get their forms in.
And of course the population isn't getting any smaller.
Well, the Caymanian population is getting smaller, it seems like.
No comment.
That's another day. Because some people aren't having children.
I suppose that's true. Yes. So the the totality of the assistance is for the 1 year, correct?
Yes, that's paid from September the 1st through to June the 30th.
And paid directly to the institution.
Directly to the center, yes. And the payment is made for the child. So if for one reason or another the parent decides to move the child to a different early childhood center, the payment goes with the child.
Okay.
So we're not encouraging them to jump from one place to the next, but just in the event that something happens, they might move to a different district and might want to enroll the child, register the child in a different center, then the payment goes with the child.
Okay, excellent. And for the centers to register, and this is, I suppose, slightly off the topic of the financing, but nevertheless is fundamental to it. They need to comply, obviously, with certain criteria.
They have to be registered with Education Council, so that those registration requirements that they currently use can also be found on our website in the Education Council guidelines. So right on the same area of our website, that the funding applications are, they would be able to find the Education Council guidelines.
Right.
And those are the requirements included in that centers currently have to follow to be registered with Education Council. And that would mean that they have a valid trade and business, their staff has valid insurance and pension, they get regular checks from fire, public health, DEH. We can call DCFS out as well, and they'd go in and do an inspection. So they have to be on the up and up with all these agencies to be able to be registered with Education Council.
Which is excellent, especially when you're talking about young children.
Yes. Yeah, we keep saying we don't want to be a country that does something after the first child is hurt.
Yeah.
You know, we want to try and make sure that as many safety precautions and checks and balances that we can put in to prevent any child getting hurt is in place rather than being reactive, especially when it comes to young children and their lives and the staff that takes care of them.
Yes. And you know, it's very much a Caymanian thing, I think, still, that people like to talk about something rather than necessarily submit documents. Is it possible for someone to call in and ask questions first?
Yes.
Okay.
You hear this lady's voice? Miss Renee is, she's not going to want me to say a lot of this stuff, but she is such a calm, lovely soul to talk to. Very open. Yes, she's a very lovely soul. She used to be my teacher, by the way.
Don't go there.
She used to be my teacher. She was probably yours as well if you went to middle school. But anyway, yes, so she's usually the voice behind ECAP. And of course, I'm there as well. They can come to the government building and they usually call us downstairs.
We'll sit and complete the form for them if we need to.
Okay.
So we offer whatever assistance they need, whatever we can do to remove barriers for people who want to apply is what we're here for.
Right. Excellent. Well, ladies, Miss Renee and Miss Carol, thank you so much for that information. We have to go to a commercial break right now. So as soon as we come back, perhaps we might have an opportunity to talk a little bit further about the program.
Thank you.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, serving the Cayman Islands for over 60 years. Now offering 12% off ladies and gents wearing apparel, $20 and up prepaid, or 10% off pickup within 7 days. All household items standard 10% off prepaid. This offer good at all our stores until further notice. Savannah Countryside, Elgin Avenue, Georgetown, Eastern Avenue, Georgetown, 949-7104. Drive through, rain or shine. A great special. You feel good when you look good.
2020 means perfect vision. And if you have your sights set on driving a new hybrid, then the time is now to check out the new RAV4 and CHR. Hold up. Just two of the many hybrid models that Vamped is bringing to Cayman. Whether you're looking for a smoother and quieter way of driving or want a car that maximizes fuel efficiency while minimizing emissions, there are lots of ways a new hybrid from Vamped can make the difference in your life. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries without being plugged in. So focus your 2020 vision on a new hybrid from Vamped Motors, and we will see you through. Come to Vamped, home of the hybrid, located on Walkers Road.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westbaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord.
Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman.
Get ready for Retrospective, Cayman's National Dance Company's annual show at the Harkwell Theatre, March 27 and 29. Retrospective, a versatile journey of the company's signature dances and new creation. Tickets are $25 for adults and $15 for children, and available at Audiophile, Bang & Olufsen, Radiance Dance Studio, or simply call 926-1826. Retrospective by Cayman National Dance Company is sponsored by CUC, Burger King, ARC, Directors, Big Fish, 95.5 FM, Radio Cayman, and Hurley's Media.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public could say.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Talk Today. It's my pleasure to be here. I was sitting in, this is Patrick Schmidt, by the way. I was sitting in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and now Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks has decided to grace us with his presence. So welcome back, Sterling.
He said grace us with his presence. No, man, it was truly an honor to just sit, listen to the three of you, well, to your early guests as well, but to watch you facilitate and to see how comfortable and easy with which the discussions have flown. I've learned a lot, in particular, having the opportunity in the past to hear the early childhood education unit talk to us about, applying for the assistance, but to listen as a potential consumer, as a potential parent, it's very informative to be interviewing. You get your information. But thank you all very much, man. Not just for the work that you do.
We really appreciate it.
So, as a parent, how do you feel about the early childhood program having been introduced again?
I'll be careful so that people don't misconstrue it being political,
status in
right? But the notion of education and this thing of being a lifelong pursuit, and starting from the moment you know that you're going to be an expectant parent, to the way you talk toward the child, and that's my view. The child is there as a beating heart. Child is birth, your interaction, but being able to introduce formally to education is paramount. It's going to set the foundation for everything, not just academic, but socialization.
I think that's very important what you just said, because a lot of people believe parenting really starts maybe when they start real school or big school or that kind of stuff, or a lot of people unfortunately think parenting never starts. But actually from the minute you know that you're an expectant parent, actually before you even know you're an expectant parent, just making your body and your home and your finances and your vocabulary, just the way you speak to yourself, ready for when you have a child. Those things are so important. And when you were talking about the way you speak to your child, there's a quote that I saw on social media, of course, somewhere and it's so true.
Could have been the Encyclopedia Britannica.
The way that you speak to your child becomes their inner voice. That's how they then speak to themselves. And if you are uplifting and encouraging, and if you discipline lovingly, that's the way they speak to themselves. So when they make a mistake, it's not, oh, I'm such an idiot, look at what I did, I'm so stupid. Or it's not, oh, well, I just made a mistake, I'll be fine, everyone will be fine, I don't need to apologize. It's they're speaking to themselves so that they can be better people as well.
It's a learning opportunity.
Yeah, and it helps with mental health. It helps with well-being, everything.
Yeah, prepare the home, the womb, and the groom.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Oh, got some lyrics here.
2 shots of espresso.
That's what I was telling our previous guests, that there's a lot of research that goes into what Dwayne does. So, Sterling, pardon me.
I just listen to Susan. She just shares it with me. But it's incredible the work that you do in your unit in particular, and this is why I'm so proud of our civil service, but so honored to be a civil, a public servant, and many people don't see it. And I'm thankful they are across many jurisdictions. That's the epitome of work. It is not what we have, unfortunately, allowed the media space to sometimes denigrate the work that civil servants do. But thank you. I mean, it's tireless. I see the hours, many of the offices.
It's a delightful job.
Well, it is obvious. Now,
But it must be hard at times.
Yes, but it benefits people,
right?
And that makes all the difference.
I think we work with such a good group. We have such a good mix. We work with the government schools through reception and their principals and their senior leadership, the Department of Education Services. We work with private schools that offer early childhood care and education classes. And we work with private early childhood centers. We work with parents. We work with other stakeholders such as the fire services, DCFS, NAU, public health. I mean, so we're never the same old same old. We work with immigration. We work with, I think we're the center of everything. We're the center of everything. You know, we have to keep an eye on the statistics from ESO. We have to, there's so much that is all around us and that we are right in between. And that's just exactly how our children are. Our children are right in the center of all of us all around them. And if we are not doing our best, and if our society is dysfunctional and we don't have the systems in place to support that child in the middle, then the children can't grow to be their best then.
Right, absolutely.
So it speaks to how important early childhood, if you want to put it, is to that child, but to society, but not just for future generations, but for now.
How society affects that young child.
And how society affects that young child.
Adversely sometimes.
And the fact that the government, would be able to allocate funds from the taxes, even sometimes the borrowings in order to ensure that there is some available funding. It speaks to important things. Maybe we do it on this end at the early days. Maybe we'll also be able to do it on the other end when we're hitting 70, 80, 90 and beyond. Again, societal values. Huh?
I would imagine the impact as well of a program such as this, even though it's just a year, but I mean for a young child, a year is a long time.
That's right.
And I'm sure that the preparation that they get for the things that will occur in when they start actual school, shall we say, or what
big school, as parents call it.
It is so important from the perspective of their confidence, of their their willingness to learn, their open-mindedness, and so on.
That's exactly what we're hoping for. And also when you think about the service to the community as well, because parents can actually go out and work during the time that they're, and not have to worry about their child. If their child is in a setting that's catering to their needs, where parents are satisfied that they're being loved and their cognition is being stimulated, they're learning friendship skills, listening skills, parents can actually concentrate on their job. They can actually work and bring money into their household. They can learn new skills themselves while their children are being cared for in a safe environment. And that's why it's so important for parents. You asked us earlier about how we choose early childhood centers. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important for parents to choose those centers, because they are the ones that know their child, that know their family's needs, and have to be satisfied that their child is actually in a safe, secure place.
And is happy.
And is happy. Yeah, we have some parents saying, my child cries when they leave the center each day. They don't want to leave their teachers or their friends, and that's actually a very good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the common criticisms, if I can use that term for this particular scenario, is that it's certainly in the past, in the not too distant past, a lot of mothers in particular struggled with the balancing act that you were just speaking about. And having this program in place is great to assist them with that process. And I think that's, the number of benefits that accrue as a result of that are endless, But I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about the completion of the forms that lead up to the actual qualification. So what we'll probably do in order to allow you sufficient time is have a short commercial break, and once you come back from the break, then by all means we'd like you to explain a bit more about that.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
It's the 8th Annual Dress for Culture Day on Friday, March 13th. Celebrate Cayman's multicultural community by displaying your homeland pride and cultural dress. Your Dress Up, Dress Down donation of just $5 per adult and $3 per student goes towards the National Cultural Foundation's youth programs. Visit the @Cayman Culture Facebook and Instagram pages for more information on how you can win a prize for showing your national pride. Open to all schools, businesses, and individuals. Dress for Culture Day, part of K-Fest 2020, brought to you by CNCF. Email cncf@artskimon.org or call 949-5477 for more information.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases, clear the water in saucers under potted plants, and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
At Canine Resort and Spa, your dog gets the red carpet treatment. That's why people trust us and pets love us. Offering doggy daycare, boarding, training, and grooming services for any breed, size, or style. From head to tail, we'll make your dog smile.
Choose from 4 grooming packages, from the basic bronze package of a HydroBath shampoo and conditioner, wash and blowout, to the platinum package including spa services like a doggy massage and berry facial. Canine will help your pet look picture perfect. Receive a loyalty card where your 6th grooming package is free. Limited availability.
Visit canineresort.com for details on grooming packages, doggy daycare, and resort services. Canine Resort and Spa, where the posh dogs go.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmidt, and I'm here with Mr. Sterling Dwayne Banks, who has joined us. And I'm also here. I have the pleasure of being here with Mrs. Renee Barnes and Ms. Carol Bennett, who are representing the Early Childhood Care and Education Unit of the Department of Education.
Ministry of Education.
Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
I can never get that right.
It's okay. We
My
love
apologies.
the people over at Department of
I think
Education,
I may need a little more
so we
education.
don't mind being
But it's certainly a pleasure to have you here. It is a very informative topic, of course. This is effectively Is this in its first year or second year now?
No. This has been
close to 20 going on 30
Probably
years,
when we were children, it was probably...
But I thought there was an interruption, wasn't there?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Renee probably...
moved from the Department of Education, and it was tasked in the ministry.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
unit.
way back when there was reception program for, it would have been 3 or 9 month olds then.
Right.
Year 1 was 4 years, 9 months.
Okay.
And then reception was taken out of many of the schools and
Right.
only remained in East End, Northside, and the BRAC schools.
Right.
So the government at that time put ECAP, or I don't know what they called it then, preschool assistants, and in place of reception.
Right.
When reception was reintroduced instead of cutting the funding out, because reception then catered for that age group, the ministry decided to give it to the children a year younger than reception age.
Right.
So now you have this funding for 3-year-olds, and then reception is free for Caymanian children for 4-year-olds, and then compulsory school starts at 5.
Which is free as well.
The government schools for Caymanians are free. Yes.
Right. So I know that you wanted to talk a bit about the actual application process. So I'm just going to hand over to you, and you take it whichever direction you like.
So just to remind parents that they do drop off the form to the Government Administration Building, or they can scan and email it into us at ecap@gov.ky. When we receive the forms, of course, we go through to ensure that all the documentation's in place, and we have 2 meetings of the Oversight Committee. Oversight Committee includes persons from within our community that actually give volunteer hours to go through the forms and to collaboratively make a decision on each form. So we have the meeting of the Oversight Committee at the end of May 28th, and then August the 12th. So any forms that are collected between March the 1st to May 26th or 27th would be given to the Oversight Committee for their review and decisions at that time. And other ones that are collected after that would be decided on in the August meeting.
Right.
Forms are available from the Government Administration Building, also from all the early years centres across the island, from the Department of Education Services, and we also have it online on our government's website.
Right. Am I correct in thinking that if one doesn't have access, for example, to a printer, but they don't mind, they're comfortable with the internet, they can come into Government Administration Building and print it off?
Sure, we have them printed at the front at the reception desk.
The lovely ladies at the reception desk have the forms, so the public just needs to come in and ask, and they'll provide the forms.
As well as we're happy to email it to parents.
Okay.
Yeah, and early childhood centres have them printed. We've offered printing for the early childhood centres, which only one centre has asked this year, I think, or no centres. No centres have asked this year.
We have 8 or 10 centres. Quite a bit have gone out.
Right.
Okay, so there should be no shortage of the hard copies of the forms.
Right.
And of course, if parents have their own printer and are happy to print them themselves, they can access them online or ask us to email them a copy.
And if there are any questions at all, there are note pages to the back of the form, pages 9 through 14, which explain all the various aspects that the parents need to complete in the form.
And we're encouraging people who have forms to actually share the forms with other people, the information with other people. So there is not in the last few years, we have not denied anyone because of lack of funding. So if we notice that the funding is getting low, we've made requests to the minister, who's always did whatever she had to do then to ensure that the funding, additional funding is in place if it's come to that. So we have not denied anyone in the last few years due to lack of funding. So parents don't have to feel like it's a competition or they have to get their application in and not tell anyone else because, this pot might be spread thinner. So we're encouraging as many people as feel that they could benefit from this, that they should qualify. And share the news with others.
And just as by way of reminder to the listening public, you did already clarify that there is actually no deadline.
There's no deadline. So the dates that Ms. Renee spoke about for the Oversight Committee, even though the last date is August 14th for the Oversight Committee, what Ms. Renee will do then, if we get forms in after the 13th, the day before the Oversight Committee, she'll either call a smaller Oversight Committee meeting with fewer persons, or she tracks the Oversight Committee members down individually. She'll send out an email and say who can accommodate reviewing 3 or 4 forms. So even though that's the last date of the big Oversight Committee or bigger Oversight Committee, that doesn't mean that we stop taking applications then. And I would really like to take this opportunity as well to thank the Oversight Committee members over the years. We don't say who these people are, but they know who they are if they're listening. And some Oversight Committees, we have a constant person or persons serving throughout the years, and then other years, some are brand new and then they serve for 1 year and then they leave. But they play such an integral part, and they are such civic-minded and people who respect confidentiality and understand the community, and they give their time, like Ms. Renee said, free of charge. We feed them.
Oh, yeah.
We feed them when they come.
That's important.
Yeah, we feed them when they come. But other than that, there is they give their all. And I really want to thank every member of the Oversight Committee who served in the past few years or over the past few years, and would really like to encourage them to say yes when Miss Renee asks you to do it again this year.
Right. But of course, I mean, we are a community that depends so much on each other. I mean, quite often where there's not a particular institution responsible for something and so on and so forth, we pull together and get things done, which is tremendous. So I share your thanks to the Oversight Committee, even though I don't know who they are. But an additional question, just from a practical perspective, if a child is going to turn 3 by the 2nd of September, what do you do in that circumstance?
They have to apply the next year.
That's okay.
Yeah, because there is the trajectory of 3 before September 1st for ECAP, 4 before September 1st for reception, and 5 before September 1st for year 1. So if we muddle up the trajectory on our end, then they'll either have a gap year where they can't get into reception or year 1, or parents will be like, oh, do they have to stay somewhere 2 years? We can't pay funding 2 years unless there's a extenuating circumstance. So that doesn't happen. We've had children who were literally born September 1st at 1 p.m.
Right.
And you have to draw the line somewhere. And like I said, it's that trajectory of 3, 4, and 5, just like our area code, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
So we have to uphold our age to uphold the reception age, to uphold the year 1 age.
Right. And is it correct to say that this is part and parcel of the overall education plan, so to speak, insofar as I'm speaking about it ties right into the next year's schooling?
Yeah, that's exactly why the major reason why we then have to respect that age line. We, speaking of age, though, there are some extenuating circumstances. For example, if a child has a special need and their service providers, not just their neighbor or their friend, says, yeah, they should be in an early childhood center, but their service providers that are servicing them for that special need says the child should make more progress if they are in a structured setting where they can interact with other children, where they can be part of a social setting. They're a little bit too young. Would you all consider helping parents with that to help with their development? That would be an extenuating circumstance that's once again on the forms for parents to read that could be considered for younger children. It's very rare that happens, but that is one of the extenuating circumstances that would perhaps allow the Oversight Committee to say, okay, this child isn't quite 3, but because the service providers are saying this will help with their special need and help them close that gap up quicker by the time they are school age, then that's something that can be considered for younger children, but it rarely happens.
And this might be slightly outside the scope of the current discussion. However,
it's okay.
just a general question, because I suspect that there are a number of people that may have questions like this. If we were talking, for example, about persons who are working, for example, in the hotels, or who are otherwise on shifts, like at the hospital and so on. Obviously, it is an extremely helpful program for many parents, probably the majority of parents. But in those circumstances where the center will not be able to facilitate every time, is there any thing else being considered in terms of assistance to parents for the interim period, or do they have to make their own arrangements for
You
that?
mean for July and August?
Or for that, as well as if
the extended hours.
Yeah, the extended hours, yeah.
Well, our funding is, like I said, only for early childhood centers or places registered as an educational institution. To the best of my knowledge, there is no educational institution that caters night shifts, for example. We do know that we've had some
after school programs?
There's after school programs, but most of the early childhood centers stay open till 5:36, right?
Okay.
So that's technically after big school anyway.
Right.
But the shift workers who do work overnight, we do know one or two people over the years have asked about overnight care, people wanting to start overnight care, and that would not be an early childhood center because it's not providing education, it's providing care. So we've talked to DCFS about that as well, because the major issue that would be child protection, child safety during the night. Is someone going to be up all night if something happens and the whole household is sleeping? You know, how are they going to make provision for those children who are in their care? So that's a bigger issue. So as far as it being an early childhood care and education center, if they are offering overnight care, this funding would not go to them because they wouldn't be registered as an early childhood care and education center. Yeah.
So maybe that's something for down the line.
Yeah, maybe it's something for down the line. Yeah.
Ladies, once again, I'd like to thank you so much for all of this very interesting and helpful information. I'm sure the listening audience has learned a lot and
it's 2 o'clock.
And have more to learn. We have to take a break now for the news, but after the news, we'll be back.
All right.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news. Access to information. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team. Today's biggest news.
Mark your calendars for the Cayman National Cultural Foundation Dress for Culture Day. Show off who you are and where you're from, whilst learning more about others you work with. The purpose of Dress for Culture Day is to encourage all of the various nationalities in the Cayman Islands to participate in a special dress down day celebrating their respective cultures and countries. Dress for Culture Day brings K-Fest 2020 to a close this Friday, March 13th. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has warned that up to 70% of the country's population, some 58 million people, could contract the coronavirus. She said since there was no known cure, the focus would fall on slowing the spread of the virus. It's about winning time, she explained. Her remarks came as Italy entered its second day of a national lockdown. And Google's parent company Alphabet has asked its North American staff to work from home to reduce the potential spread of the coronavirus. Last week, the tech giant sent a memo to staff recommending that employees in Washington state work from home. It has now expanded that request to all of its almost 100,000 workers across 11 offices in the U.S. and Canada. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. And always a pleasure and a privilege to be able to sit in the studio. And today, to be able to actually sit as sort of a quasi-guest almost, and to see the able Patrick Schmid discuss the various topics with our guests. As he returns shortly and we continue discussion, I invite you to be a part of it. It's going to be open line 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. You can WhatsApp 925-3261. And as I think most of us have perhaps expressed a level of concern, perhaps even to an extent, a level of growing fear with respect to the coronavirus. We can talk about that if you choose. We can talk about the dump fire and the like. I got a couple of WhatsApps I want to share with Patrick as well, as we say a special farewell to Miss Renee and Miss Carol, and on their behalf and the Ministry of Education to extend an invitation to apply for the Early Childhood Assistance Program. If you're not sure if you're eligible and you're not, able to maybe determine, well, you can telephone 244-5735. You can email ECAP, that's ECAP@gov.ky. You know what? I like to do things in person. Parking is convenient. Go into the new $100 million government building, talk to the receptionist there, get your bearings, and you will be able to assist it. I say this with the greatest of confidence. We have excellent civil servants who are diligent, not just competent, but very, very compassionate and very willing. Mr. Schmid, thank you so much again for sitting and sharing the afternoon with us and to allow me to attend to things. What I say, sometimes it's only you can do the things for you that need to be done for you. Well, that was today, so thank you very much for that.
No, my pleasure. And it's we haven't heard a whole lot from the listening audience, which
well, let's make sure that changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, $5 to the next caller. No, that's not true.
Susan's saying 500.
And she get paid. No, but before we take the call, I think we have a caller. Before we do, I want to say it was great listening. I didn't get to hear every word, but to you and to Miss Miriam, say for instance, and Mike Early, and then Miss Renee, Miss Carl, just listening to the interaction, engagement, information exchange, but to sit and listen, it was refreshing. It was a stellar job. I would say a sterling job, but
but thank you very much. And I'd just like to say that that it is not an easy job at all. So anyone who thinks that doing it has an easy job is wrong.
We'll leave that for today, right?
Thank you.
All right. So anyway, we're going to go to the phones. Take us there, my friend. Take us there.
Okay. Good afternoon, caller. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, sir. This is number one from the bracket. Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon, number one.
Sir. Good afternoon.
Dwayne, I want to ask you a few questions.
I got my pen in hand. Let me see if I can pay attention. Go right ahead, sir.
Make sure you can type too. Listen, I want to ask you this. When tourists come on the plane, are they checked for this virus?
There are some jurisdictions that have employed a certain level of scanning, some scanners that I've been told aren't really effective. In this jurisdiction, on the planes specifically, we know that CBC and other agencies have employed measures even before they board the plane. But as you would evidently be aware, someone could get on, don't even know that they're ill, don't even have symptoms. It could be a returning resident. It could be someone visiting for the first time. It could be one of those, infrequent visitors. And after a few days here, could present with some of the symptoms.
Certainly.
That's right. Why I called you, because this morning on the other show, I heard somebody from the back calling, but I couldn't get through in time. The show was done.
Yeah, I heard that call as well from the lady calling.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I got this to say, and I hope you're listening. We don't know whether any tourists up there now got it or not. So talking about the ship. Anybody can come here. There can be any ship unbuilt. 100% fine this morning. By the time they leave this evening, they get sick. We don't know.
Right.
So I don't see why that should stop the government from sending any cruise ships coming back. So I hope you listen to me.
Okay.
Moses Coconut, everyone on the Juliana Island, Austin, everyone. Even the minister, her name, tourism.
Yes, sir, that's correct, Mr. Moses Colonel.
Yeah. Moses is another one thing, but he went to Jamaica some weeks ago. But anyway, I think you better got something to do with it, you see.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Anyway, any one of the ministers up in there, and you don't have to listen to all them things. Give Kim and Black a chance. The place is dying. Get that dock up the quick fix. That one you can get a small cruise ship like one of them that carries the 200, 250 coming up there. If the weather is bad, okay, everybody knows things are different. Same way down here, you go somewhere else. Came on back is a rough place to go somewhere else when the weather bad. But I say, not because somebody got sick on a ship, you got to stop cruise ship from coming back. That's foolishness. That's why the place can't get nowhere now. Because of stupidness.
Sir, just going.
Going ministers, government, everyone enough of the governor down. I hope they hear me. Push up.
Sir, just going back to your original question regarding checking persons who are boarding aircraft. As Sterling was saying, of course, if the person has no symptoms, is showing no symptoms, it's extremely difficult to check, because normally I understand that the symptoms take anywhere from 2 to 10 days to manifest. So if the person's not showing symptoms, there's not really very much that anybody can do, whether it's a cruise ship or indeed an aircraft that people are boarding, to check. It's only when symptoms start to show that they then have to take the necessary precautions. And of course, the precautions that they have to take are with the worst case scenario in mind. And that being the case, if it is indeed the coronavirus rather than the common cold, then obviously you wouldn't want them coming into any part of the Cayman Islands in those circumstances, I think.
Yes, sir, I understand what you're saying, but that was the same thing I was getting at. How are we going to know? Nobody knows. Anywhere you go.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I don't see why there should be any problem about trying to get more cruise ship Cayman Brac. That's what we need there. So we love tourists come out with a plane Cayman Brac, same here from anywhere. They can break out with it right there. So I said get more things going for the Brac. The place is dying. And who don't like what I said, tough luck? It could be the governor, the queen. I don't care. All right, dear?
All right, sir.
No disrespect to any of you, but I'm just talking straight.
All right. Well, no, thank you for that, sir.
We done.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We don't like each other, but we're still friends, right?
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. Anything else you want to say?
No, I just said the last. We don't like each other, but we're still friends.
Oh, no. I can't speak for you, but, man, I don't dislike you. Can't say I like you, but...
I just said we don't like each other, but...
I teasing you.
Okay, that's a joke, isn't it?
I know.
All right.
I try to.
Remember what I told you yesterday?
Shh, don't tell anybody else that. All right, sir. Thank you very much.
I think we have another call on the line, Dwayne.
Yes, sir. Let's go to the phones.
And just before we do, I just wanted to say that that also there was discussion this morning, as you'll know, about the time it takes to actually get the results back. Currently under the agreement between the various Caribbean nations that are participating, and it looks like it takes about
6 days,
approximately 5 to 6 days, and they're looking at ways of speeding up that process once the blood is actually taken and sent for testing.
Yeah.
So
one day to go, one day to come back, and then the other day to decide.
Yes. Something like that. Yes. So we now have 2 callers on the line, I understand. So just going straight to the next caller. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you today? How are you?
Not too bad. Is this Barnes been left already?
Yes, sir. They.
Okay. Could you give me some more information on where you can pick those forms up, please?
Okay. Any of the early childhood centers, or
that's by the roundabout by Butterfield.
They might even have it there at the education department or whatever they're called now. But any of the the preschools would have. Almost all of them, I think, have. Or you can go to the main government building. What's that? Pink color building, right there on Elgin Avenue. Mm-hmm. With the high steps.
Yeah, because I got on late, so anyway.
No problem. And then if not, there's some here already came on. I can leave one here. I already came on for you if you want.
And so
no problem.
So you can also access it online if you have access to a printer, so it's the education department's website, and then you look specifically on the ECAP.
Right. All right. Perfect stuff. If anything else, let us know.
Sorry, the Ministry of Education, pardon me.
Yeah, I always mix up Ministry, Education. Go on the government website, look for it. All right, cool. And before you go, you that thing that we spoke to last time when we were here with Ray, you got someone to talk to, right?
Well, a little better now.
Yeah, man. Richard?
Everything is pretty okay right now, so I don't feel like that anymore.
Yeah, man. But even if you want to talk to me, reach out to me, all right?
Just something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, man. One love, bro.
One love.
Yeah. One more call, Mr. B?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
I'm very tired and a little bit tired. Sterling?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that was Patrick there.
Yeah.
Sterling?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm still doing my chores.
I still got mine to do. I'm putting them off as long as I can. and they're piling up.
Like I told him yesterday, I say I do so much and stop, so much and then stop, because I don't get tired no more. I don't get overtired by trying to do, but you can't finish work, you know.
The Australian work never done, eh? What do you say now? A woman's work is never done.
That's right.
There
so
you go.
listen good to me now.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not going to comment on any of the. I will listen to all of the guests that was on and all like that there. But you know, certain. Do you have? I've asked a question. Do you have MLA Bernie Bush phone number?
Yeah, 1-800-534. No, no, ma'am. I don't have it accessible to me.
You do have it accessible when you can call me and give it to me, right?
I probably could check with him. Yes.
Patrick, you have it, Patrick?
I don't think so, ma'am. I'm sorry, but what
Your
you
mama
could.
has it.
All right, what you do, right? Just give Miss Susan your number, and I'll email it to Mr. Bush for you. I'll email your number to him. I'll get your number to him. How about that? I can do that in the next 15 minutes. It'll be on his desk.
Sterling?
Yes, ma'am.
My number must be all over that studio up inside, you know. But I can still go to her.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So I know I'm going to go play and deal with. Look here. I just keep doing what I'm doing because I look ahead me now. And I get some good programs on too.
Well, thank you.
And not just getting some good programs. Always getting good programs on.
Thank you. Thank you. We know what you mean, but thank you.
And look at and that Miss Susan there, they go number one can right there, and I got that, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, we have to protect her, so we gotta give her a vacation. She gotta start on January 1st, and then she goes to December 31st.
Wait, no, tell him, repeat that for me.
No, say we gotta make sure that, you know, take care of her.
Darling,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That was a little bit fast. I mean, that was really rough the other day.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant.
All right.
Anyway,
You take care.
yeah, I know what you mean, though.
Oh, I got you.
Well, I can't touch her because she is the BEST. If you don't know what that says, it says best.
All right, give her your number, please, okay? So that we don't have any mistakes with it when we send it to Bernie, okay? Hey, thanks very much. Now, it's amazing how we're looking at the things that are transpiring and recognizing that with this virus. Now, earlier today, I had a few people, you know, they see you got a minute in your hand, and it's so, for me, it's so gratifying that we can still have time to talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that we can share information electronically, but people can pull up and chat with you. They're in between appointments, they're dashing to get back to work because they just ran out to take something somewhere. Mm-hmm. They only got a few minutes, but they can share a lot of information. Two things were striking. One is everybody, from the healthcare worker to the fellow who, you know what, later just called me, I need to go make sure that, you know, the maintenance, whether it's the plumbing, the electrical, the installing the door, whatever the trade, the profession, they want to get back to that. So the respectfulness that they have for their sort of their vocation, their calling. But the way we are greeting each other, it has it has changed dramatically in a very short order.
Yes,
being sensitive and respectful, and then there are those who would say, "I haven't seen you so long. You know what? It's worth it," and they still want to embrace you, right? But the second thing is maybe something that we can discuss as a nation at some point. Maybe we can talk about it now. Just initially, one person said, have you given any thought to the potential impact on our civil liberties with this thing? So Washington State in the U.S. either banned assemblies of 250 people or more. The Jamaican government has announced, I believe yesterday, confirming their first case of the coronavirus.
Italy.
Yeah. We are going to strongly discourage large assemblies of people. In the New York State, I think, you keep me in case Ms. Susan gives us instructions here.
Right.
They've said, listen, you know, within this New Rochester area, whatever it is, they're going to have a quarantine of a 1 mile radius or exclusion zone, and then the National Guard goes in. Those sort of things that you see in certain jurisdictions, people entering buildings, their hands are being sprayed with something. You assume it's a disinfectant. You assume it's to sanitize into. But what if it's something else? In addition to, what if instead of, you know? And then the way travel is impacted. It's amazing. It's interesting where we go with that. Call him, Mr. P. All right. And then...
no, I think we're going to go for a short break. And as soon as we come back, then I'll see if I can assist with some of those questions.
All right.
Have you lost your mojo? Find it again at Mojo's in Central Terrace, Bayshore Mall, on the waterfront. Happy hour specials 5 to 10 p.m. every night. Free pool every night. Free parking every night. Food, happy hour, and stunning ocean views. Find your mojo at Mojo in Central Terrace. Central Terrace is home to Mojo, Cayman Creperie, and Lucky Slice Pizza.
Members of the public are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss the coronavirus preparation. Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town, hosted by the Minister of Health, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Honorable Premier Alden McLaughlin, with Ministry of Health and Public Health officials, as well as other key stakeholders. The meetings will also be broadcast live on Radio Cayman. Again, members of the public, you are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss COVID-19 preparations in the Cayman Islands. Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town.
This is JJ the Iceman. This is JJ the Iceman.
This is where the ride begins. A magical musical journey.
Weeknights on Radio Cayman, 8 to 10. Music on Express. Friday nights, 8 to midnight.
Music Express.
Brought to you by the Anti-Money Laundering Unit. Join the fight and learn more about financial crimes. Visit the Anti-Money Laundering website at amlu.gov.ky.
Your loose change may not seem like much right now, but we know that it does add up to a lot once we put it all together. Last year, the Meals on Wheels Change for Change coin drive raised enough to provide over 6,000 nutritious hot meals to some of the most vulnerable members of our country, our seniors. We seek your generous donations once again as we aim to continue to serve over 50,000 meals per year. Please gather up your loose change, empty your coin jar, or whatever amount you can afford to donate when you see Meals on Wheels volunteers stationed around Grand Cayman on March 27th and 28th. Join Cayman Islands Meals on Wheels, Davenport Development, and Radio Cayman in the fight to end senior hunger in the Cayman Islands. Visit mealsonwheels.ky to learn more.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Land. It's a pleasure to be back with you. My name is Patrick Schmidt. I'm here with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. We have another 10 minutes or so of open line, and so this is your opportunity to call us on 949-8037 or indeed toll free on 1-800-534-8255 and let us know what you're thinking of, what's on your minds, whatever that may be. Just prior to the break, Sterling was mentioning the issue that a number of people have brought up about perhaps an excess of carefulness, shall we say, with respect to trying to protect people from contracting the coronavirus. And my own personal opinion on the matter is that we expect those in charge to take whatever steps are necessary in order to protect life and health first and foremost. And of course, there have been even more extreme cases than in our own region or indeed in the United States, such as what we've seen transpire in Italy and indeed originally in Wuhan, China, where, as far as we know, it all emanated. But at this point in time, with people being as afraid as they are, and rightly so, I think that every possible step that can be taken to educate and to ensure that people are doing the right things, even though thinking about things like washing your hands and so on should be quite natural and normal and regular, it should be taken, I think, in my own opinion.
Well, as I listen to you, looking at a couple of WhatsApp messages, and maybe just share with you this one I'll share first, and then the comment someone shared in relation to panic buying that is seen not just globally but even here, and wondering to what extent we need to maybe consider that.
And of course, we've seen a couple of instances of that already.
Yeah. And it's not that people aren't fearful or aren't trying to be, cautious.
Right.
Maybe take the necessary precautions as they were. But what, if any, future consequences would that have in the short term? But here is, a populace that maybe waits often and then decides, not sufficiently proactive. Somewhat off point, but as a correlation, we've had a number of people share with us via WhatsApp. I want to read this one in particular. This individual shared that, why is it that as a country we didn't really look at the issue of the dump in this context? Are we considering the plans, and if so, what is going to be implemented? Think of the cost. Yes, on Monday, for instance, to the tenants. Will they be reimbursed? Is government looking at those tenants that have to evacuate their homes, their places, their loss of production, the cost of businesses and the school, any potential illnesses that can be correlated to smoke inhalation, with needed medical attention? Who's going to pay for that? Will they be reimbursed? How do we assess those costs? In particular, the medical bills. And now when we have something like the dump being discussed for so long, are there any sort of notion of where are the priorities for our country? I say that to say that I was looking for the way that this particular comment was shared. But again, crisis management. We have this virus. Probably something else will occur in years to come. It may be in a few months even. How do we prepare as a people? All right, food security is there, but also border protection. Also, how do we control, prices, supply and provision of goods and or services? As I listen to people, you're seeing the challenges.
Yeah. It's certainly not easy to deal with all of these things at once. And sometimes, as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. It certainly seems as if we're having one thing after the next, or maybe all of them simultaneously in some instances. And of course, the writer's quite correct that the spillover in terms of costs is massive. And you, with your economics background, would know more so than I would that not only the immediate obvious costs, but the fact that people had to be sheltered in government shelters for a period of time when they had to be evacuated. That cost is a direct cost to government. Then there's the opportunity cost of work foregone, the children who had to miss school, that now has to be made up somehow if possible. The potential ramifications in terms of the tourist being,
the impact too, they've started to cut, but the potential reputational sort of costs.
Right.
The quantifiable costs of the fire, the DEH, the policing, NRA, all of the responsible requisite agencies that will be part of it. But then long term, then it speaks to the issue of, well, is there a way that as a country, as we look at perhaps devolving some of government's services, so there's no longer just centralized. We talk about e-governance. Is there a way to make some of that, including education, provided at home? Not just in times like this, or if there was a hurricane or an earthquake and there were school closures, if you could utilize the technology to bring learning in that way. Provision of services. You can license your car, you can pay other government things. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but it may have to be that the mindset, the ethos of the country isn't, I don't want to pick on the US, but it's a great example. If you were to speak to, say, policymaker in the US versus one in the UK, and what's the healthcare system? Well, in the US, it's a sector.
Right.
In the UK, maybe it's a system.
Right.
Fundamental difference is not just semantics.
Right.
And do we now look at it as to how the services that we provide, the testing for this virus, you pay for it, or is that part of something that is absorbed? Is that payment so exorbitant that the company, the individual, or the state can't afford or don't feel like it's justifiable? And if so, if it's important to know whether people are sort of diagnosed with it, not just for treatment but for containment, are those things that are important?
Of course, but I would say that I think that we're pretty good here in Cayman at looking comprehensively at other jurisdictions and seeing what they're doing and trying to derive the best of those things. And I think that we've been doing, generally speaking, and I speak of we generally and across the board, of taking the best and doing our best with the circumstances, with each challenge that we face. Of course, all that also includes spotting what mistakes we make and trying not to repeat those mistakes. But by and large, I mean, the response has been, for example, the firemen is one that's been cited a lot recently. The dedication of the persons involved in the fire service, of persons involved in the health services, has been incredible, remarkable, and very laudable. And I think that that we continue to improve, and the way in which to even make that go further is through more communication, more interaction, more sharing of information that is relevant and correct, and less detraction by people who would spread things like, I heard Mr. Connor referring this morning to some fake news that had been spread. That isn't helpful at all.
No.
And but I think by and large we seem to be headed the right direction, and there's only a certain amount that obviously we can do, but we're doing it, I think.
And here's an opportunity for the country, through its leadership, political, civic, and otherwise, to maybe respond, not just in a responsible way, but first to start to inculcate an ethos that says amongst its people, the behavior of fake news, the behavior of people seeing, oh wait, like we see in jurisdictions, there's an earthquake, a hurricane, people not necessarily going to be attentive to their shops, so let's go loot. Well, in some places, that's not even going to be considered. There was a time here when perhaps that's how it was. Are we so sure now? So in this environment, at least within our own jurisdiction, the people that are physically present and accounted for, if we have the mindset, the expectation, the immediate knowledge that we're not going to try to capitalize on the other's downfall. Now that comes back to all who are here, despite wherever we come from, whatever baggage we bring, whatever experience and expertise and education, and that we all subscribe to the same thing. It's not that we're a homogenous society. It's a society that subscribes to a particular set of core values.
Right.
Now that has to be evident, and certainly amongst leadership, but it also has to be instilled from the home to school to everywhere. And is it?
Yeah, I mean, two fundamental things. We're all human beings. So irrespective of where we come from and what our culture is, at the end of the day, we are all affected in the same way by things like illnesses and so on and so forth. And we must remember that and humble ourselves to remember that at all times and be helpful insofar as possible. And the second thing is that we can only benefit by working together. And so anyone who detracts from that, I don't think is marching down the right street. So I think working together, trying to help as much as you can, taking on civic responsibility and remembering that any democratic society is of the people, by the people, for the people.
And for that democracy to function, I mean, I just very deliberately have been looking at places. So if you go up to the hospital, for instance, even if you just drive it in your mind, you don't have to physically go there. There's that team. All of us going there. How are we engaging with the staff? And are we cognizant and respectful that they are just a set number of people? Are we respectful? Are we trying to bring our very best despite our circumstance? When we go to the supermarkets and we're buying, is it that image that you see when there's a particular sale at a particular time of year and people fighting over something that they really don't need, can't afford anyway?
You saw that?
Sadly, everywhere, and even here.
Yes.
But little things like that aren't insignificant. And if they become the accepted norm, now, to be, look at our older people. They had more, even though there was less.
Yes.
They live better and healthier. But it comes back again to the people. All right, so our time is at night.
Okay, boss, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure filling in for you for a period of time. And thank you very much, Miss Susan. Enjoy your vacation. And thank you all to the listening audience for participating in today's Talk Today.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.